Hi and welcome back to the workshop. To this point we've done 3 tests, a compression test, a leak down test and a cooling system pressure test as well. Why these tests in particular? We wanted to understand what was going on inside of our engine in terms of compression. To this point we're looking really good. The valves are good, the rings are good, the cylinders are good, and there's nothing wrong with our head or our head gasket. So we're going to get really solid compression as we're running this engine. In other words, we're going to get the performance that we're looking for. The next thing that we need to look at for performance is how our fuel and our air are mixing together. And so today we're doing a fuel pressure test. Despite its age, there still is a certain level of sophistication to this engine. There's an onboard computer that's speaking to the throttle body, determining how much air to put into the engine, along with the fuel rail and injectors. We need a really close, good mix to get maximum performance. The fuel rail is where we're going to be doing the test. Okay, before I talk you through the test and before I forget, get some paper towel, something that's really absorbent, and prepare your engine. We're going to be losing fuel, and so we don't want to lose fuel all over the engine. Once that's done, we're going to take a 19 spanner and we're going to open this end of the fuel rail. Now be careful, there is a really small ball bearing just inside of there and you must catch it because you're going to have to reinstall that ball bearing once it's opened. Another thing worth mentioning is that you want the car to have sat for a couple of hours before you do this. And it's just to release pressure in the fuel system itself. Okay, here it comes. I can smell it. It is potent. Here we go. And there's the ball bearing. You see it? Okay, we're going to put this aside. We're going to put it right up here. Alright, so we've had to do a little bit of jerry-rigging, a little bit of mechanicking. The connector here at the fuel rail was just a little bit too large and a little bit too small for the connectors that we had. And so what we've done is we've pushed a pipe over, connected it, and yeah, that's what this looks like. So let's talk about the fuel pressure test process. While we are running one test, we're actually running 3. The first is going to be the pressure that is in the rail when the engine is off. The next is going to be the pressure in the rail when their engine is on. And then the third is actually a leak test where we're going to leave the tester on for about 20 minutes and see how much pressure the system is holding. Now, when the engine is off, we're looking for about 2.5 bars of pressure. When the engine is on, we're looking for 2 bar. And when the engine is off, we want to try and hold as much of that 2 bar as we possibly can. Let's take a quick look into the engine bay and talk about the process here. We're going to come here to the relay box where we're going to be jumping the fuel relay. That's for the first test, that 2.5 bar test. Once that test is complete, we then reinsert the proper fuel relay and then turn the engine on. This is going to then allow us to test the pressure while the engine is actually active. Once that's then done, we just turn it off and we allow the engine to sit and we see what kind of pressure we're holding. So let's quickly make ourselves a jumper. You're going to need a piece of single core wire, a couple of relay connectors, some insulation tape if your relay connectors don't have that insulation on them already, and something to crimp. What we're going to simply do is shove it in, crimp it down. That's now attached and we simply insulate it. It takes 30 seconds and shouldn't be more complicated than that. Yeah, I saw. Okay, it's skirted from here. Let's just get this off the engine here. Why the hell would it? Alright, so lesson learned. When you purchase something brand new, like a tester, don't take for granted that the manufacturer has actually tightened the bits and pieces correctly, you know, the connectors. In our case, that was almost a disaster.
Okay, rolling. It's spurting.
Yes, here I am back in my driveway, and yes, that is because the fuel pressure tester failed 2 more times. But I still don't have the data I wanted from the test, so I reached out to a couple of mechanic friends of mine, hoping they would have a tester I could use. Both of them said they didn't, and with 40 years of experience between them, both gave me a very interesting answer. Why in the world am I bothering with a fuel pressure test in the first place? After sharing my side of the story, both of their views were as follows. You either have pressure or you don't. They both explained that this mustn't become a worry until I, in earnest, begin pushing the performance of the car. And so, because she's going quite well, and after the frustration in the workshop, I'm taking their advice and moving on. There are 40 other issues to see to, and in doing so, I'll see you in the next episode.